Hi everyone, welcome back into Women Unscripted on Primetime TV show. It's the last Women Unscripted of the year. We will pick up next year. We have two of our originals from a number of moons ago, right girls?
Oh my gosh.
Krisula.
Hello.
And Krisula Gause, that is, and Maura Sweeney. Maura for you. Now, Maura, you were actually the one that was instrumental in naming this show. Do you remember that day?
I certainly do.
You haven't told that story. Did you know?
You tell that all the time, Barbara, but it was because it's you. You're so unscripted. And you said, I was looking for a name for this show. It's going to be Women Unscripted.
It was right. What was it? We were at Cher.
Yes.
Cher couldn't be here today, nor Helena, but you're always here in spirit for sure. So don't think that we will forget about you. Just remember that. We'll probably talk about you in the show too. All
Absolutely.
Good. But it was at one of Cher Kissler's amazing women breakfasts.
Yes.
And I think I was
Safety
speaking.
Harbor?
You were, yes, in Safety
down at
Harbor.
Paradise Restaurant. Yeah.
And you were speaking, and whatever it was, I said, Barbara, you are so unscripted, but I loved it. It's what you are. I don't think anybody could really contain you.
Was it
And so I think it was very fitting, and you thought, well, I'm going to have a show and host it. That's it.
Was it
with women.
Was it when we broke out in dance? Was
No.
that it?
Well, let me ask you, was that a day both you and I shared? Like you shared and then I shared? There was something that connected us that day.
That.
We did two separate presentations.
We'll have to look that up because I know
We'll have to ask Shar because Shar is very organized. And she has it on paper somewhere
Cher,
where it is
I know
scripted.
You're out there. Text us or go on Primetime on Facebook and let us know which show that was. I'm just curious. But anyway, when Morris said Women Unscripted, I go, oh my gosh, that's it. You know when something just hits you and it's like an aha moment because I've been waiting and praying for the name for a show. And I thought, we are such free spirits. Why not call it Women Unscripted? So that was it. And you were one of the first ones to come on the show and be unscripted with us. Now, why and how are we unscripted?
Oh, boy.
Whoa, boy is right, because we laugh, we love, we cry, we inspire, we motivate, and we don't have all the answers. We're always looking for more answers. And if we can help you with some of the things that have been going on in the last year, I can't believe how fast this year has gone and how much I continue to learn from one day to the next. And I know you girls probably feel the same way, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
So, Maura, here we go, unscripted. Are you ready for this?
You can see the look. I'm not used to unscripted to Barbara's level. Go ahead, Barbara. Try me out.
No, it's going to be good. It's going to be easy.
No, well,
Okay, no, this is real simple. What could you say that you've learned in this last year? Because now I also have to tell you that Maura is also one who does many podcasts of inspiring and motivating, and one I think you did in your closet one time, didn't you?
I do most of them in the closet.
Still doing them in
I
your
do.
So you
They're
see,
all monologues.
Hence unscripted, right?
Yes, that's true. They really are.
Yeah.
They just come to me by inspiration.
Yeah, but
yes.
this one time it just really hit my core because you had a funny story behind it. But so we all either have learned some. Oh, here's Maura. There she is, Miss Speaker and Traveler of Happiness around the world, and that's what you do, and you do very, very well.
Well, thank you, and I enjoy it. I'm
that's
called
why
to
you're
do
here.
that.
So what did you learn this past year with the P word, the pandemic word?
You know, if I say something, is anybody going to be offended if I'm really honest and unscripted?
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
For years, I've always been aware of what goes on in society. I'm always paying attention to how people think and how things will change and modify over the course of time and why. And I remember this 30 years ago when I was in corporate management, and I would start asking people questions about what they thought. And I was always reminded that people, and these were highly intelligent people, would mimic things they read in the newspaper. And so I would like to do my own little studies back then, and I would say, well, did you also hear about this news? Or did you know about this fact? And I could see them like, oh, I didn't know about that. And they would have to kind of rethink the headline that they were repeating to me as if it was their own. There's a reason why I'm telling you this with a preamble to Barbara. And then I would give them a little more information. And before they knew it, they'd be very stumped because they realized that what they were telling me they believed in, they didn't really know if they believed in it at all because they had kept hearing the same message all the time. Okay, I wanted to say that for a reason. So to answer your question, what's the biggest thing I learned this year with the big pandemic is that people follow what they're told to follow. Oh. If there's a message of fear, and the message of fear today could be slightly different from tomorrow, and it could be something else the next day, people's attention goes right to what the media tells them, and they adopt these feelings of fear as if they're their own. Every opinion, every focus, they actually believe that those points they thought up themselves, and they cannot seem to differentiate between what the media tells them to fear and what they themselves are looking at in the real world.
Well, that's it.
That is so true.
And
I believe that.
Yeah, I think that what it is, why it seems so real, it's because when we watch a movie, what happens?
We get caught up in that.
Our
Caught
eyes
up in the
put
story.
us in the story.
Yes.
Yes.
So when we're reading and seeing and all that, we're putting ourselves in that storybook.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right?
Stories are so powerful because of that. Now, I read something just recently. You know, they refer to the television. Well, listen to it this way. The vision.
Yeah.
Now, we all grew up with the TV. Now everything is on the internet, but it's the same concept.
Right.
We're looking at something, and we're kind of sitting in a restful position. We're receiving, but
Right.
we're not necessarily thinking actively. We're not using our own skills to discern.
Right.
Does someone have a reason to tell me this?
Right.
Are they getting something? Are they getting more views because they're telling me this? Are they going to make more money because of this? But do I agree with it? Mm-hmm. And you're right. We will watch things and we take them in, but we don't assess. And that's the biggest thing I keep noticing about people.
Do you know, it's
Yeah.
interesting that you
Even
said
me.
that about television.
I didn't make it up. Somebody else. I borrowed it from somebody.
No, but
Barbara.
I took the word television. I
Yes.
was getting ready to do, it wasn't a workshop, I think it was a talk many, many years ago. And it was on, I forget even where it was, but I took television, the other meaning.
Yes, I could see it just as you're telling me.
Tell a vision.
Yeah.
It's like telling a
That
story.
is pretty amazing.
And being in television, I get all these little aha moments and everything, and that was an aha moment for me, and that really kind of ties in what you're saying, because the media or whoever that is doing
Whoever it is.
television is telling a vision, and we're buying into it. So how much do we buy into it? That's where our own skill sets and our gut and our heart gives us the skills that we need to move forward. I could sit here and talk about this till the cows come home, and I know you girls can too, but I'm going to pass it over to Krisula because I want to hear what she's learned, and I know you were holding your breath ready to, so go. to Maura's point about that.
Okay. So I think that when right now with everything going on and how that television, I think that there's so much people don't realize that by seeing and watching, right, our eyes, what is it to our souls?
The
Right?
windows.
The window
So
to our souls.
When we sit there and start paying attention of how we watch things, right? And how it's going through, do we watch and sit there and watch with like, okay, and tell, like, okay, let me put that back there, but I'm going to check on
With
that
a
later.
discerning eye,
Right,
let's say, right?
Right.
exactly, with a discerning eye. And I think that the more that we learn how to really actually look at things, right, it changes how we feel about things.
Absolutely.
Right? Because not only, a quick story, when I was younger, I was watching this one major TV channel, and I watched it and watched it and watched it, and I really enjoyed it because everybody did. Everybody watched the same show. And then at one time, I don't know why, I woke up one morning and I'm like, I was watching the show and I felt like it was trying to push me somewhere, the show. And I felt uncomfortable because I don't like people pushing me, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn it off and I'm going to do a search. So what I did was I went on all different types of stations, right? And it took me, gosh, I want to say over a year to sit there and realize what station now I really want to watch. Because I watched all of them and I saw how they reacted towards each other, what was really going on. So now I literally chose my station. I didn't allow the station or people to dictate what I should be watching.
And I'm so with you on that, because perception is everything, and you can be watching any kind of show, and depending on what your perception is in and of the moment is going to give you that discernment that you think is what you want to watch or what you want to comment on and things like that. It's kind of like life in itself. It's all about choices. If we choose, if we take the choice of choosing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really works when you make that choice. It's like what you were saying about the media and following the media. You know what I mean? Putting your faith into something that I personally, honestly, do not have enough years left in my life to go and do all the research that I really feel that I need to vote the way I feel I should vote. That's just, I do vote, but there's always something left undone because perfection is only a direction.
Yeah.
And so you do the best you can with what you have to work with, and then pray for it all.
And we need to know and feel that assurance, each individual, each one of us, to know that we are perfect the way we are, first of all. You know, and change is such an important word. And if you can allow that change to come in and breathe it in with a positive and a goodness, it will carry you.
It will.
You know?
It will.
Yes. Yes.
If you feel that change in your heart, at least that's how I do. It's my heart saying that aha moment. This is it, like Women Unscripted. When Women Unscripted was born, I know that's not as deep as some subjects that we talk about here on Women Unscripted, but it's the concept, because when you learn that heart-centered living, it becomes a way of life.
Yes, it does.
And it never changes. I don't have to talk myself into changing this or change that. It just comes, and I believe in the Holy Spirit that comes, unfortunately, in the middle of the night, giving me a lot of answers. Only clues.
Yes.
Only clues.
Yes.
And then I put all the clues together to get the final answer.
That's so true, and that's very universal. That's happened with me, and I've had many people tell me the same thing. But think about what we're just discussing here. We're in, especially being in a Western nation, where we are surrounded by media. Everywhere we go, look, right in here, I had to turn this down before we started with my phone. We're surrounded by messages, and then the messages, as you know, are generally owned by 6 major corporations. So if we have all these messages outside, and many of those messages want to steer our thinking, our emotions, our behaviors, our purchasing powers in certain directions, but we decide, wait a minute, I would like to just turn it all off and be quiet and find out what's right for me, what feels right on the inside. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I don't think most people know they have a choice. I don't think,
No,
whether
you're
it's
right.
through school,
You're right.
any kind of even upper level education, I'm seeing that more and more. It could be in your corporate life. It could be in many environments where people don't let you really know you have a choice. They don't remind you that you could check in with yourself and say, well, how do I feel about this? I was like that as a little little child. So I feel like I've almost gone full circle.
Well, yes, because you were going to go be a lawyer that you did not want to
You
be.
never forget anything,
I will
Barbara.
never forget that. Talk about
I was going
following
to
your
die.
heart.
If I became a lawyer, I would have just died on
shriveled
a
up.
sidewalk somewhere
You
because
would have
there was no
shriveled
life
up.
in it for me.
You would have been in a fetal position somewhere.
Yeah,
No.
that's it.
But
Done.
it was just, I knew life came from my heart, and life came from within, which is why my podcast is Maura Sweeney, Living Happy Inside Out. You know how many people have interviewed me and they say, what does that mean? That, to me, that's been a way of life.
Yeah.
What feels right on the inside?
It's simple.
Even if it's an unpopular decision,
Yeah, sure.
I know that if I make a decision that doesn't resonate with me internally, it will make me wrong later on.
Yeah.
And I won't be able to live with myself.
right.
But to me, it's a very natural way.
Yes.
It's not always easy, but in the long run, it's peace. There's a
Yes,
peace
it
to
is.
it.
It is.
Knowing yourself and knowing that I'm choosing a path that's right for me. I wouldn't dictate to either of you and say you have to do it this way
No.
or do this
No.
way.
No.
But find what's good for
But
you.
you know, I believe we're all on the same page somewhat, or we wouldn't be on
Yes.
this show being unscripted. But we are on the same page, just telling it a little bit differently.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right? And that I think that's okay.
Yes.
And you know what, Barbara? Give people, everyone, it's okay if you feel like, you find yourself that you're following something. It's all right, because the moment you realize that you want you, and you don't want to look at everybody else, and you want to find out what's within you and what you bring to the table, then it's your time. So,
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
pick up on that? Now, I was talking a lot about the media because I do watch and I follow the media, but more from an observer's point of
That's
view.
what me too.
Okay.
And
Now-
do you watch the body language, and you watch
I
the
pick up on all of it. It's always been
everything.
fascinating
Oh,
to me.
I know. It is. It is.
It's fascinating to me. But I'm glad you brought this up. Here's something. Now, just consider this. What if you see someone, maybe they're an artist whose music you really enjoy, or it's someone's TV show, you love it. You like the way they dress, and you feel like, I love watching that show. It makes me feel happy or uplifted, or I'm laughing with it, or I'm totally into the story, and I like the way it makes me feel. But then over the course of time, something changes. There's a shift. Now, this is just a theory I have, but I've had this theory for a long time, is that sometimes there are individuals or programs and programming that get the mass majority of people to follow it. And once they have the large grouping of people to follow it, then they start to adopt and adapt. And then it starts to sometimes get perverse.
Yes.
And supposedly you're supposed to laugh with it or conform to it. But something inside of you said, you know what, this isn't the same people, but something's changed.
Yeah.
And that's when you know
Yeah.
that this isn't me anymore. So I need to find something else that either will lift my spirits or that I do agree with, or my insides don't always feel like the chalk is rubbing against me
I
the wrong
know,
way.
I know. Well, you have
And
to
I don't
turn it
think
off.
people know that we can do these things, or
Yeah.
even that sometimes we are being programmed.
right. So what if in this world that we teach people that once a month to go into themselves and expunge all of this? So you're talking, if we can help teach people that it's okay to feel this, it's okay to have all of this, but now let's make it for you. Let's personalize this. Okay? Let's celebrate that now I know that I need to start picking through this. And today will be my day. So if we pick a day and just kind of, allow things to flow, allow how we feel, put some good stuff. When we take things out, we have to put good things in, right? So have our good music, our favorite maybe show, whatever it may be that brings your heart and you happiness, right? And so every month you pick that. So imagine in 1 year what that has done to a person, right?
Well,
That's a very
even,
good concept.
and I think that's really good, what you're saying, and in probably less than a year that it would work, especially if you're coming from love, because when you're in that high frequency, obviously, it just changes everything about you in your life, and you are able to make better decisions. I'll tell you how Kelly and I do our little assessment on a daily basis, in that we ask ourselves, how do we feel? How are we feeling? And we call it the gauge of the 10. From 1 to a 10, how are you feeling? It's pretty simple. Are you at a 9, 10? Are you exuberant? Are you happy? Are you waking up full of joy, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed? Or you wake up in the morning and you're slugging around with that cup of coffee that you're spilling everywhere, every step you make? How many have done that? I think we all have.
I've done that.
I know. I know, right? So I guess what I'm saying is, if we can assess ourselves without being judgmental and go,
Absolutely.
hey, you know what, it's 11 o'clock, I feel really good. Why do I feel really good? Well, I'm grateful for this, and I lost fingers and toes in counting my gratitude. That too changes your frequency level.
Absolutely.
It brings you up at a higher frequency level to where you're not going to be the law of attraction attracting the wrong frequencies into your life. And these programs, or whoever it is that we are following and being led
Right.
down the bunny hole,
That's
and it
right.
doesn't feel right, ask ourselves how we're feeling about that.
And you're so right. And you know what I love is that you can say stop. You can say no. No one has anything over anyone.
No, you're right. And just to let everybody know, Krisula happens to be one of our certified master trainers in Tai Chi Qigong, and she is also a Reiki master and biology specialist in herbs. And I want to let you know, because she does have that background with the human body and the biology and how our bodies work and how the mind, body, spirit works. We've been like best of friends for forever, and if it wasn't for Krisula, I would not be walking today. And that is the honest to God's truth, because my heart set, when I went down on the dance floor, I know I bore you to death on this story, but I am telling you, I am very grateful. Was it 3 years? 2-3 years.
Oh, now almost 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she heard that I had gone down on the dance floor.
I was at Cher's.
Yeah. And Cher came over with the walker. I was on the walker for 3 weeks. And smiling and laughing at myself, because I think I was in shock. I was in shock for 3 weeks.
You're like, I'm not gonna own this. This is not mine. I'm not gonna decorate
They wanted
it.
me to put bling on it, because I love my bling. And I go, are you crazy?
She's like,
This
I'm
is not
not
gonna be a
owning it.
permanent
It's not for
attachment to
me.
me.
Well, Cher, come get it now. Right, Cher? But you called me up. She said, I heard you went down on the dance floor, blah, 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 blah. I'm coming right over with the beamer.
Yeah.
And you had to have done at least 400 sessions with me on that.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, I could not walk. I couldn't do anything. I prayed and prayed till I was blue in the face. Lord, just get me to stand up and be able to walk. That's all I care about right now. I don't care if I have to give up my dancing. It's okay. I shouldn't have been dancing the peppermint twist on one leg anyway. What, I wasn't 16? But we do those things because we're
Absolutely.
having fun. And that was the one and only night that I ever went out with my friends, because everybody was going through a little something, and I wanted to be supportive, and that's what happened. That's my story. And this one helped me.
Yes, I know.
So she's got a lot of background in that. And Maura, of course, you do seriously travel around the world spreading happiness.
Except not during the age of COVID. I was on my last trip.
I was going to
My
ask,
last
that
trip
was
was
my
to
next question,
London.
how you did.
I was flown out to London to speak at a conference, and this is the interesting thing. It was like the beginning of this year, and it was a whole weekend, and I could remember people who were just starting to talk about this new thing that was going around. And little did I know that it was about a week after I came back that everything was started to shut down. So I haven't really traveled since then.
Yeah, and London is shut down totally.
Now they're
Oh
really
my
shut
God, they're
down.
Really, yeah,
Yes.
because we have some friends. You know, Maria is over in Scotland, and I forget who else is in the UK, and they're just totally. So we do our Zoom calls and all
Yeah.
of that. And what else are you
Well,
going to do?
same
right
with me.
now?
I have one coming up in for a big corporation. It's a global corporation, but they're based out of San Francisco. But it's going to be on Zoom.
Yeah.
But that's
But
okay.
I'll do it however it is.
No, I don't mind the Zoom one.
I actually, you know, this is one time where, because you always hear me talk about the technology, I'm not all about the technology, but the Zoom calls, I can do the Zoom calls. I
Yeah.
actually can click myself on there. And it's really great because you get your message out.
Yes.
And isn't that what we're trying to do? Get the message out. So if we didn't have this technology, we wouldn't be able to do that. So I'm totally okay with that. And, you know, on our show with Unscripted, Women Unscripted, actually a lot of our shows, most of our shows are unscripted anyway.
Barbara, every single show is unscripted with Women Unscripted.
I know. We never actually, we have a little
Even when
bit
we're
of a-
scripted, we still go off script.
We go off script and we go down the bunny hole every now and again, but it's really in everybody's best interest if, you know, we're not trying to, what did you say earlier? Sway or swing you our way. anything like that. We just put the music, or that's the music, the words of music out there for you to decide. If they resonate with you, if you like the song we're singing here, then adopt it, if you will.
You know, I like that. That's absolutely right. And can I add one more thing to what you both said?
Of course you can.
Good, I knew you'd say yes.
I love her.
No, this is interesting how both of you answered the same question in your own way. Krisula, you mentioned something about we have a choice and we could take one day a month and really do an internal assessment. Decide what's working for me, what isn't, what new things can I put in. Barbara, you did it in a different way. You said you and Kelly will ask each other, how do you feel today? Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10, which is great. Now, here's a third option, because as soon as you're talking, I'm thinking, oh, and this is the one I always tell people, because it works for me, is take 5 minutes every day when you first get up in the morning to set yourself, what are my expectations for today? What am I looking forward to? How can I think well? And how can I focus on things that are good? But at the end of the day, if you take another 5 minutes, now, my time is like probably less than yours, but I'm sure it all does the same thing. At the end of the day, you could say to yourself, all right, what was my best moment? Who was I having my most fun with? Where did I feel most like myself, most free? Where was I most creative and coming up with new ideas? And where did I feel most energized? And then where didn't I? So it's these are little points you could make. So whoever is listening today, however you may feel, and whatever story fits you, right? Whether it's once a month, whether it's with a scale of 1 to 10, or first thing in the morning and last thing at night. But what I found is that by just taking those little moments of reflection, you bring back power to yourself.
Absolutely.
That is so key, is bringing back the power, which does empower you. And you know, it's funny that you mentioned all that. We're all on the same page. I
We
did that
so are.
this morning, just before I left, with my husband. I said similar things about that. And how do I want to do my show today? Where do I want to go? And what can we impart to our viewers today to make a difference? And in that whole gauge of going from 1 to a 10, there's science behind it. And that's why we do it that way, because then that way it helps us judge where we are going, or where we need to go, or where we need to step back from or move forward. And you're so right. Like, where did you feel the most? And I'll tell you, when you can walk into a room, or somebody walks into a room and you meet them for the first time, how did you leave? How did they make
You feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're not taught that.
No, we're not.
It's what did they look like? What were they wearing, right? How important were they? You could actually go to a party, maybe it's supposed to be considered one of the best places, and you could leave there feeling awful.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But not even be aware of it and look for more of the same. Or you could go in and say, I love this person. They made me feel great. I always tell that story about you, Barbara.
What were we doing? And
I went
where did
to
I
see, it was something at your country club.
Yeah.
And I
It was a
came
talk.
because I was listening to Helena speak about publishing, because my husband and I had been publishing, and I was looking to refer people to other publishers. And Barbara said, Helena said, I'll be speaking tonight at such and such a place. I walk in, Barbara, who I didn't even know you.
No.
She got up from a big round table. She said, I'm so happy you came. And she walked across the room and gave me a hug. Now, see, that kind of a thing. I never forget people's kindness. And I always remember the love that people have. It comes out so naturally. It costs you nothing.
Yeah.
But it makes you feel great. And if we can choose to live in those places, we end up not only feeling better ourselves, but then we could really change the scope and the cosmology of the world.
And you said it right there to take us into the last less than a half hour. But I'm sorry, what were you going to
that's
say?
okay.
Because I want to pick up on that.
So what I wanted to say is, how you guys, before my mother passed away, I had a really rough time and things were happening. So when my mother, she had ALS, and I had my 2 kids, and she came and she lived with me, and I had to wake up every morning and do that. I prayed. I said, all I want to do is I want to be a good person. Help me make the best choices for today. I have 2 kids. They're the most to me, and for them, I want them one day to respect and love me. So every morning I woke up, and that was my first thing on my mind. I wanted to make my kids proud. I wanted to be the best person I could. And that is what helped me out of like a depression and of everything that you could have thought. And yeah,
That's
And
so beautiful.
So you went from within. I went from within. You went from within. So we all have different stories, and I mean, you see us here laughing and having a lot of good times, but we all have those stories to share. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it took you daily prayer.
daily. Every
prayer.
morning I had to wake up. When I woke up, the first thing I said to myself, I want to be a better person. That was my line every single morning. Okay, today I want to be a better person. What can I do? That's what I started.
And when did you get? How did that evolve? What happened?
So what happened is when I was I went to college. Things happened with my dad. Then we had property. I mean, just my life was in such a disarray, and my mother gets sick. My dad's not around to help her, and we didn't even find out that she had ALS here. She had to go to South America. They found out. Long story short, she ended up with me. And I started drinking a lot. I wasn't a perfect person. I wasn't a perfect parent. I couldn't handle the school, the this, the that, because I went to school. I went back to school and got my bachelor's. And so it was really, really hard, because it was hard to see my mother dying every day.
Yeah.
And knowing that at that moment it wasn't called terminal, ALS, okay? And I couldn't really get much help. It was just crazy, you know. I had to shower her myself. She had her little trach, and the fire department would come over and the ambulance, and they wouldn't be able to take her from my house to the hospital until I was home to manually pump her. So I was working at USF. I had to stop my job at USF, find a job in Tarpon Springs, because they would leave my mom at the house until I got there to pump her manually to the hospital that was a mile away.
Wow.
Not even a whole mile away.
So
Chris,
that's a lot.
You know what, can I
That's a lot.
observe something about all this? You know, people may be looking today and think, oh, aren't these fun ladies? And what they have so much heart.
Yeah.
And what they may not realize, or what you may not realize, is that oftentimes some of the good things that come out of our lives come out from very challenging times.
Oh, no
Now,
doubt.
that says so much about you,
Yep.
that you knew you were in such a difficult place, and you would get up in the morning and pray,
Oh, yeah.
I have these children, I need to let them see a good mom. And it reminded me of something. I write my blogs. I've got a couple of books, but one of the very first blog I ever wrote several years ago was called Tombstones. I don't know if I ever shared this with you. It was actually a funny story, but here's what I wrote about. How do you want to be remembered? And think about this. It puts your entire life into perspective if you say, all right, one day I won't be here anymore. And I happen to be at a cemetery, and I was looking one day and I thought, they don't leave you too much room to write anything on a tombstone. Here's their name, but the thing that it always said is never to be forgotten.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I don't know these people, and maybe 2 generations later nobody knows of them or thinks of them. So it caused me one day, and there is a funny story that goes to it, but I just want to give you the bottom line for this. If I'm going to be gone, how do I want to be remembered?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
I've had those
Guess
moments.
what? This is my answer. And this is why this is so important with what you're saying. How did I want to be remembered? I wanted to be remembered as someone who loved. That's it. And I remember at the end of my my blog, I wrote, I don't even care if you don't know my name. I honestly don't. But if I know that when I leave the room, when I leave this earth, that people felt loved.
Absolutely.
Loved and loved.
Yes.
And there's something, and you know what?
Yes.
I have to tell you, a lot of the things that people do feel when they're around me, they don't feel it because I went through Easy Life 101. I'm listening to you, and there are many difficult places we all go through, and we could either say, am I going to be a victim or victimized by this, or am I going to use this for good?
Yes.
And that's when you do have to go inward, you have to go upward.
Yes.
And then I always say, are you going to be a victim or are you going to be a beneficiary? And so look at how so much of your life now, Krisula, works for good. Now, Barbara, I knew you were going to say something. How would you want to be remembered?
Pretty much the same way, because you hear everything that comes out of my mouth is about love. I love love. I love being in love. I love loving others. And
It's so funny you guys said that because
this sounds like a scripted show, but it's not.
It's really what everybody's looking for in life. Everybody wants to feel loved.
Yes.
And once they are, it's like everything sort of balances out.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing, and there's kind of like a funny little thing to this, but when Kelly and I have done singles and singles again seminars, we talk about relationships and things. And I've asked myself this question, and you can ask yourself this question because I think it's very validating. Have you ever been stranded on an island with your partner? Well, this pandemic probably your island was right under the roof that you're living in.
That's it.
And it's interesting that this has happened, and I don't mean to downplay this because there's a lot of people that have gone through some serious mental illness changes, unfortunately, through this, because we have not been really taught, per se, what can come from that. And I know a lot of not very nice things have come from that. But when we would talk about relationships, and if you have to think if you're with the right person, that's clue number one.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But if you want to validate and be that survivor, and you know you love this person, could we survive? And don't laugh. Could we survive stark naked on an island somewhere, picking coconuts and having a meaningful conversation?
Absolutely.
I could do that.
Absolutely.
I could do that with my husband. We just celebrated our 20-year anniversary.
You are so funny. I love it.
You know, and it came to mind when we're hunkered down in the villa. Well, we're hunkered down anyway.
Okay, and so now I got to pop something in because you're going to love this. So I was helping out a friend of mine at a restaurant. I was working like 4 jobs at this time. And I was helping, and I said, oh my gosh, you have this vitamin that'll help you study, and it'll keep you awake, and it's good for you, and all this woman, right? And she goes, oh yes, I do. I said, could you hand me a card, please? And she goes, of course. And she goes, oh my, the wrong card fell out. And I'm like, don't tell me, do you know anything about Reiki? Because I've been trying to learn and find out who around here knows. Guess who it was? Guess? I'll give you a big guess.
Really?
Oh, yes.
How about that?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes. So it was Manette. So I actually went over there, and she was my Reiki master. So I learned,
See, you just never know.
Isn't that funny?
You just never know.
I would have never met you.
Yeah. No, that was a whole story.
Isn't that's what I'm saying. Just that one little drop. This woman dropped a card, right? And I've been, like I said, I was trying to be more spiritual and learning and all that. And it was that time in life, right? So anyway, so that's how I met Master Kelly and Barbara.
Isn't that
because they did a workshop, and my husband heard the words that I said to you,
slows the aging process.
Slowing the aging process. Then my husband says, right on, I'll do Tai Chi. My husband's 77 years old, and that's Barbara. The rest is history.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, he turned around his health in a number of ways, and just from starting doing our classes, and then followed our supplementation program. So you just,
So that's what gave him the want.
Yes.
Was the Tai Chi. Master Kelly, in his whole Master Kelly, when he was showing us some moves, and when he said it slows the aging process, honestly, my husband's ears went, bing! What? Aging process? I got it!
Well, words are so very powerful, and my husband always says, because I know many of you watch our shows on Mondays when we're doing anything from soup to nuts. I mean, we talk about everything, but mostly everything that we're passionate about so we can get a message out to you. And you had mentioned about love, the whole love thing, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where we need to be, because that's the only way we're going to change things. And if it's going to be, it's up to me, one heart at a time. If we can change one heart at a time, and there's just a little bit of training in it. You can learn how to center yourself in less than 60 seconds, I kid you not, just by, like both of you were saying, is being with yourself quietly. Do some breathing. You can do deep breathing. You can do normal breathing, which I feel is deep breathing. If you're a shallow breather, you might want to try deep breathing. It's much better for us. It's all documented, backed by science. But what it does is it gives you that time to really be with yourself. And you will be amazed, because I think there's so many people scrambling these days and trying to figure out, okay, this person says this person says that, we're going to get this, we're not going to get that, where do we go, our business is shut down, oh, wait a minute, we get to open back up. You can't make this kind of stuff up. So we have to go, at least I feel this way. I think the girls here feel this way. Our other women unscripted feel that way, is you must quiet the mind. When you quiet the mind, you quiet your heart, you quiet your soul.
Absolutely.
And you will be amazed at how many people come into your heart and your mind and your soul that you love. And they may not even be of the planet. They may be somebody that is from the past, that maybe you hooked up on Facebook. I've hooked up on so many wonderful people that are in my heart and my prayers, just by taking that moment of being quiet. I know Facebook drives us all crazy sometimes, but honestly, I mean, some of my first encounters on Facebook were Peggy Pease and Lisa Perry, and those two gals were my angels when I started at HSN, and they set up all my products so they all looked pretty and sparkly and shiny and all that, and they were always right there for me, making sure everything was really good. And it was like 18 years, and I hooked up with them.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, and then recently I've hooked up with several people, and it's just mind-blowing how it stirs up those emotions of love, because love, I don't feel that a real, honest love for someone never dies or goes away.
So true.
It may lay dormant.
That's right.
It may lay dormant, and then all of a sudden, and then you reconnect.
Yes.
It's a beautiful
That's so
feeling.
true, and I agree with you, Barbara, because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I have friends of mine from high school, college, and I could hear from them maybe once a year, and it's like, or talk with them just once every few years, and the moment comes and it's like no time has been lost.
Isn't that
and
beautiful?
that same connection is there. And they're so, to me, that's such a beautiful part of life. I need to tell you something, and I'm going to share it online today. When I came in, you said, oh, Maura, I'm listening to your voice. You're a little tired. I said, Barbara, I'm exhausted. What you don't know is that before I came to the studio today, I got out of bed, I was doing some things, had to do some things for work, and I'm literally like dragging myself out of the shower trying to think, what am I going to wear? I had 4 different things, and I'm usually not that type. I'll just put something on. And I was beyond exhausted. Now, here's the funny thing, talking about people that you just pull out when you refocus your thinking, because I was totally exhausted. We've had some things going on, as you know. So I'm getting ready, and I'm thinking, you know what? What would Barbara do? Barbara, she always is happy. She's got her own hard things she's gone through. Now, this is going to make you laugh because of what we said just before the cameras went on board. I said to myself, Barbara, she puts on her big girl panties every day. I literally saw you putting on big girl panties. I said, Barbara could do it. I'm going to do it too. It was my little reminder. And I started smiling and laughing.
Cute.
Now, what was your story you told before we came on? Could you share it? Do you remember?
What was it? What was
You
it?
thought your pants are falling down? You
Oh,
realized-
no, I can't tell this.
Oh, come on. It's too late.
No, it was my panties falling down.
I knew you wouldn't mind. But
We are unscripted.
but you
It's
know
all
what?
out in the open. It's okay.
But
It's
you know, here's
okay.
the funny thing. Everybody does go through difficult times and challenging times, but when you have people around you and you can pull up their good energy,
Yes.
even if you feel like you don't have it yourself, or if in that moment it just comes to you,
It's
what a
true.
beautiful
It's
thing
true.
to call
so
upon.
what made you think, what would Barbara do? Because
I just know your spirit.
Because you know, yeah. I find
know,
a way.
Barbara.
We find a way.
I know your heart. I know how thoughtful you are. I know how loving you are. But I know you, and I know you're so resilient. I would add one more thing, too. How do you want to be remembered? You're not just love. You're love with lots of fun. And that's why, like, when I'm thinking, I thought this was too funny, I'm thinking, I actually got this picture of Barbara going through tough things. I'm putting on my big girl panties. I'm thinking, Barbara could do it. I'm doing it, too, today. I might be exhausted. I can barely move. And we come in, and Barbara's telling this funny story that she thought her pants were falling down. It wasn't quite that. So.
Oh, my goodness.
But the thing is, isn't it wonderful when you can choose people, and they could even be strangers, because I'll do this all the time in the
Oh, I'll
grocery
do that.
store.
I'll
I
talk
talk
to
to everybody.
anybody.
Yeah,
See?
yeah, that's what my husband
I
said.
didn't learn, don't
Honey,
talk to strangers.
Why are you in the grocery store for an hour and a half
Because
and you
you're
have a
meeting new
gallon of
friends.
milk? No.
But you know what? I am
yeah.
very drawn to good energy.
Yeah.
And I love to share with people if I see something good about them. You know, often I will tell a mom who's treating her children well.
Yes.
Or a dad who's out with his
do
son
that.
and daughter.
Oh, my gosh.
People are so surprised by it, but they're so touched by it.
Yeah, yeah.
I love being around good energy. We always have that choice. There's always going to be something in this world or in our lives that could make us feel like, I'm a little bit heavy. Or we could say, you know what, I'm going to flip the switch and I'm going to look for something good.
And
you know
that's
what's
going to
good?
take us in this last 10 minutes is flipping the switch, helping all of us
Yep.
flip that switch. Because like I say, this was totally unscripted today. But if you really do take those moments when you're out and about or when you have an opportunity, if you see somebody out on the streets or sitting in a doctor's office, if you can even see their facial expressions, you can see a smile because
yes.
your eyes twinkle over the mask.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and it may be that moment that person needed that smile under the mask, or just a hi, how are you
Yeah.
today? Or the story that you were. I needed that today because I was dragging too.
Were you?
I really was. Well, you know,
But see, isn't that nice how we can lift each other up just at the thought of another person?
It's so true. In what was it, a week ago Sunday, our little baby was. We thought she might not make it because she got a hold of raisins in a muffin that she was chomping down. Off to the emergency we went, and that drags you down.
Yeah.
And walking around with these masks drags you. I feel like I do a cardio workout. I'm exhausted. I'm
Wait,
out
you know
first
what?
thing
Wait
in
a
the
minute.
morning.
This is an interesting fact that I learned because I'm usually at this. Well, I was gone for months, Safety Harbor Health Spa because of COVID. What else?
yeah.
But the director there for all the exercises had a conversation with me one day, and she said, Maura, she said, I have this thing in my office, and she said it'll read how much oxygen you're taking in. She said, so I gave myself this little test, how much oxygen am I taking in? She said, I put on my mask and gave myself the same test. She said, my oxygen level dropped so far down. So we find people now wearing, and fortunately we're in our state's a little bit more open,
Yeah.
but there are places you could go to where people are nowhere to be
Deficient.
found without a mask.
That's right.
And
That's
you're
right.
thinking, so what are they doing to the energy within their body?
I know, it's crazy, and so we're always, we all as life coaches, we are also still looking for additional solutions, and not so much, oh, I can't do this, can't do that, but what can we do?
Well,
that's what I
workaround.
learned.
You need a workaround, right?
Coaching 101, right?
Yeah.
What can we do?
If I can't do this, what can I do? It's not
Yeah.
to focus
Yeah.
on what I can't,
That's right.
but how can I get creative
Right.
and think around? And by the way, if you do think about how grateful you are for what you've got, new ideas and workarounds will come.
You know, that is so true. Again, going back to raising that frequency level, Christmas morning, my husband and I were in our jammies. We woke up doing the samba. I mean,
Isn't that cute?
doing the samba around our coffee table. The kids are looking at us, the dogs, that is, you know. And so we find ways of being creative. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I know you and Robbie are doing Tai Chi off
Yes.
your balcony.
So that's one thing that I wanted to say. Is this is such a great Tai Chi, Tai Chi? Yeah. No, Qigong move. So that your heart will always smile. Grandmaster Kelly, this is for you, my friend. Okay?
Oh, they can't see you.
Inhale,
All right.
open
There you
your
go.
arms. Take a deep breath. If you can feel your heart, which I know you can, it's smiling. And exhale all the way back.
You can feel that energy just watching
Watching it,
Krisula
I
do
agree.
that. And if you do that a few times
Oh, my
every
goodness.
day,
You-
it's just, it really is amazing. My husband is working with a bona fide Ayurvedic doctor from India. You don't know this story yet.
No.
We're going to have her on the show. She is an amazing human being. And to Krisula's credits of being an herbologist who had Master Kelly on some of her herbs, Dr. Mitra has him going on the same herbs.
Are you serious?
The same ones, but
Oh, I can't wait to see what
you're
she
going to
has.
meet her too, because it's nice to have an advocate, a health advocate here in the States. But I'll tell you, she has given us so much hope from we were talking about health,
Yes.
the medical, conventional, all of that just before the show today. And we were talking about having open minds to alternatives. And that's what we're doing with the Parkinson's challenge that my husband has had. And he is damned determined
And he
to
looks
overcome it, and he's doing it.
He does. His eyes, everything, his stance.
Yep.
I mean, it's such a big difference from
Yep.
6 months ago. It's like,
know.
oh my gosh, this is Master
Wow.
Kelly.
And I haven't seen him.
Yeah,
I haven't
wait
seen
till
your
you
husband
see
in a
him.
while.
That's
so exciting.
He's really doing well. Well, he's a champion at this.
You know
He's a
what?
champion
Also,
at
your
life.
husband, because I heard him speak once as well. Your husband, from the time he was a little boy, learned to be you call it an overcomer. He's a winner in life. No matter what he has had in front of him, he
Yes.
always found a way to rise above it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he's got it so much built into his spirit, so that doesn't surprise me at all.
It comes automatic. It's
because of practice.
It becomes a practice. He's still exercising every day. We haven't been going to the gym. We have our rebounder, which is good for flushing toxins out and really helping with a real cardiac workout, not wearing a mask and out and about, which I really do feel that's what I am. I'm so tired when I get home. But there are ways to overcome the chaos, and the girls have really mentioned a lot of really good ideas. And we try to do that as well on our Monday shows with my husband, Dennis Kelly. You can always look him up on Facebook and see some of our, postings and things like that, and get a hold of these girls too for any kind of motivation, inspiration. If you have any comments or questions, Krisula is here. Not every single Women Unscripted, and neither are you, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's really okay. And when we are all here, oh boy, it's fun. We also wanted to mention you can get a hold of Maura if you want her to speak through Zoom at the moment. Things are going to open up
Yes.
around here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, but the one thing that you will absolutely love is a walking tour in Tarpon. I was there the very first
you have to
one.
come,
Walking
Maura.
tour in Tarpon?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
You might as well tell the local
So,
people. Is
yes.
that okay, Barbara?
Oh, yeah.
What
It's,
is it?
it's local in
Yes.
Tarpon. Absolutely.
So on the 28th, we're going to have a special tour, okay? I am going to start dropping of what the tour is about. Now, the 11th of February, that will be a couples foodie tour.
Oh, that'll be cute.
oh, my gosh. We went for the first one that
Yes.
she launched. It was so
Yes.
successful. We had such a
Really?
We're
blast.
going to all have fun because you ladies are going to come, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
That'll be in February.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
And that hopefully we'll be back to normal. Oh, look, today it was really
I'm actually thinking
lovely.
about your walking tour. Not that I want to take everything
Oh,
off, because
so
I
I
know
do
people listen from
history
everywhere.
and all
The
that.
history of Tarpon
Oh,
Springs,
yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
which is like Little
She's
Greece.
an icon.
Oh my gosh, I take you back to the 1800s.
Really?
Way
And I
before
love
the
history.
Greeks and all
Really?
of that. Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah.
And her.
Well,
her-
after the show, you could tell me a little about it, because
oh,
maybe I'll
you
join
have to hear
Awesome.
about it because you've heard of St. Michael's over in Tarpon, the cathedral, the
St. Michael's Shrine?
Apparently not. You could see the look of, I don't know what you're talking about.
You've got to go there. It's wonderful. Her grandma built
My
that.
grandmother built that for my
Really?
uncle that was sick, and St. Michael's pretty much said, if you can build me something, then I will take care of your son. And, my grandmother at that time was like, okay, are you okay? But anyway, so she ended up starting the shrine. When they went back to the office, the doctor's office, to take the x-ray, it was gone. It was
Oh,
cancer,
what a
it was. Yep,
beautiful
yep.
story.
So
Oh,
it's very,
my.
a lot of people visit St. Michael's. It's a lovely little...
And it gets right back to my favorite three-letter word, G-O-D. And that's, we all pray, we pray for the miracles, and there are miracles out there. And I believe that our country and our world are going to be facing the miracles. Some people have already faced them and have found them already. I feel like we have. When you have your health, you have your wealth, and that's the bottom line. And when you have friends like we have here and out there in TV watching land, it means a lot to all of us. I never dreamed I'd still be doing TV at 72, going on 73 now. Thank you.
Well,
We're all going on something new now, Barbara.
Just a number.
That's right, it is.
Just a number. And if we can make a difference, heck, I don't know everything, but I know a lot of people that know a lot that we can share with you, and that's why we're here. So in the last less than 3 minutes, I'm going to turn over to you, my dear.
What?
And the camera's yours. Just give a little something for what you think for the year 2021.
Okay, this is a fun thing to do. Let's say the 31st, right? You want to get rid of a whole bunch of things. A lot of us do things through our eyes, right? We see things. So this is a fun thing. Get everybody in your family, write on little pieces of paper everything you don't like, you didn't want, whatever, right? Make a little fire, right? And sit there and say, every time it goes, just feel happiness. Because when you get rid of something, you got to put something in that's good, right? So when you're putting that in there, in the fire, you're letting go, your heart is smiling. So think of that every time. And when you're done, close yourself up, say your prayer, and be ready for the next year.
That's right. Isn't that great? The burning bowl. Love it. Love it.
You gonna ask me,
You're
right?
not.
Good. I'm glad you got the first question, because it was something you said that made me realize something I have to offer too. You had mentioned earlier, I'm a podcaster. My podcast, Maura Sweeney. How amazing. I would name it after myself. Living Happy Inside Out. Anyway, as we were going through all these changes during the year, I got this. It came to me over several days. Do a series of podcasts called the ABCs of Now. But so it's going to be every episode of every podcast begins with a letter of the English alphabet, and then it has a word that goes along with it. But I was advised internally, start from Z and go back to A. Well, I've done 13 episodes. The 12th episode I did was the letter O, and I could be in the shower and all of a sudden I'll get what it is.
Yeah.
O was for OMG, as in oh my God. We're in a time right now where we've had so much junk thrown our way, and everybody's regurgitating it, and all of the gunk is coming out. We're really detoxifying, but in the same time, we are going to be clearing ourselves so that we could move forward. So here's what I would suggest if anybody wants to. Go find Maura Sweeney, Living Happy Inside Out.
Yes.
Listen to my podcast.
Yes.
And each one will give you something new to think about, and every single one of them will help undo things you don't want and help put things in. And they'll all point you to love, and they'll all point you to God.
And that's a perfect
Did I
segue.
get that in almost in time, Barbara?
Perfect segue. And what I'm going to say is that four-letter word, I was asked by Helena today on Facebook, and I came up with that favorite word real quick. So lots of love and many blessings to you. We'll see you next month with Women Unscripted.